things that went on to cover up the crime of Pearl Harbor. And I was reading a comic book and looking at them over the top of the comic book, and they figured they could say anything, and they did. It was a setup. It was a draw. It was a war that didn't have to happen. The Japanese were provoked. They'd cut off their oil. They had about 90 days to get out of Manchuria, which was absolutely, totally impossible. And if they didn't get out of Manchuria within 90 days, war was going to be declared upon them. So they were left little option but to attack, thinking that would be the best to hold them off for at least a period of time. Admiral Yamamoto was, when coming across the fleet, if he was notified that the Americans knew about it, he was ordered to turn back. So they were not anxious to wage war against the most powerful nation on Earth. And they figured if they had the support of the Germans, they could trigger this thing off, and they would be able to survive, maybe thrive, and to retain their empire. But I found out that Roosevelt knew about it, and Churchill knew about it prior to the event. Nearly 3,000 people were mass murdered. Those crimes were committed that day, were done, and there's a crime in killing each and every American. It was done with the full knowledge of the President of the United States.
Suddenly, as you said that, Anthony, I could see that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Okay, they wanted to conduct this war to make it so bad and so horrible, which concluded with the dropping of the A-bomb, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After the conclusion of the war by the Japanese, they were ready to surrender 3 months in advance, and through General Wiley Gainey, who had been with General Curtis LeMay in Guam, they had information that the Japanese had offered conditional surrender, which would allow Hirohito to remain as emperor. And this was done 3 months in advance, about 3 or 4 weeks in advance. I think there was 3 different reports that came on the desk of General Wiley Gainey prior to reaching General Curtis LeMay. So the point was to end the war with its least life lost as possible. And they would fly over Hiroshima and go up to bomb the naval base. The U.S. military would fly over the unarmed civilian population of Hiroshima and go up and bomb the base above. But one day they came by and they flew over, and a fellow that I eventually met, Colonel Kosh Tono, he said that he was looking up at the sky and there was a parachute coming down. There was this big silver item, big silver object, and it was coming down. He thought they were just dropping leaflets over Hiroshima. And then wham, this explosion happened, and around Hiroshima there is a railroad, and it's elevated. It's like the pyramid from the top of it all. And when the explosion happened, he was thrown to the ground. About 60 yards in front of him, there was a fellow walking, and when he got up, the fellow was, he thought that he had got some sort of direct hit. And the guy 60 yards in front was a potato chip, literally. And he had been working on the bridge at the River Kwai, and he was within 1,000 yards of the actual bomb of the first atomic bomb ever dropped. He called me, and he read my book, which is called Shino Shonen. It was called The Warlords of Washington. I didn't know this was Colonel Curtis B. Dow. And it wasn't long after that that the FBI came and the Secret Service came knocking on my door, saying I was making accusations or threats to the president, which had nothing to do with it. And when they called me, and I turned around, and they tried to find out where I was living. They didn't. People didn't rat me out in my own neighborhood. They talked to my ex-wife, and she said, "Well, I haven't seen him. If you see him, you need to get back to me. You call me. Because he owes some child support here, and I'm pissed off at him." And they left, and I finally made a call to them, and collect. They said, "Oh, we don't accept collect calls." I said, "You've got 10 seconds to change your policy." And 7 of them are gone. 1, 2, said, "Oh, we accept the call." And I met with them in West Hollywood, and when I got there, I dressed up in my fancy silk suit with silk brocade lining, and had velvet cuffs and the whole 9 yards, and I came over with somebody who looked like Ava Gabor. And I said, "If you want to make a statement to me, you write it down, and I'll consider whether I'll answer." And I was talking there, and they said, "Why did I put the recorder on the table?" I said, "Because what you do say will be used against you in a court of law." They said, "Well, we're doing the interview." I said, "That's right." And the fellows who just left over there about 2 minutes ago, sitting in the table across the way, took pictures of and they jumped up and looked around, and the guys had gone. You have to face the enemy and realize that no battle has been fought anywhere over anything at any time that's been won defensively. And Clay, you've been in this for years, and you've had some victories and defeats. We all have. But at this particular point, there's a war against the world. It's waged literally against the world, and it's coming from above. There's an aerosol, an atmospheric attack, an aerosol that is poisonous, that is being dropped upon us all.
I just did a show the other day, Anthony, and you know that I made one of the first films on chemtrails almost 10 years ago, maybe even more, back in 1996, with Clifford Carnicom, and the snow, it's just been reported that they're telling people not to eat the snow on Mount Shasta. The mountain tops, the snow on the mountain tops has been poisoned with aluminum. Hang on, we got to take a break here. We're talking with Anthony Hilder. I'm Clay Douglas. This is the Voice of Liberty, the Free American. Hang on, we'll be right back.
Of life and precious liberty, the pursuit of happiness. On these we now take aim and set our sights. Thank you for listening.
When looking at your personal preparedness level, remember the freeze-dry guide. During times of physical and emotional stress like the uncertain times we live in today, it is vital that you not alter your diet too much. You should only store what you usually eat, because one day you may have to eat only what you have stored. Lucky for you, there's the freeze-dry guide. Featuring the superior nutrition and taste you've come to expect, the freeze-dry guide has a wide variety of choices in freeze-dried foods. All freeze-dried foods are no-cook products requiring only hot water and a few minutes of your time. The freeze-dry guy's been serving various government agencies as well as the private sector with the finest in freeze-dried storable foods and emergency rations since 1970. Consider the technological advances made in computers from the punch card days of the 60s and 70s to the high-speed personal computers of today. Comparably, the advances made in food storage from the World War II era till now are equally great. Visit the website at www.freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663.
Being a part of Life Change Tea has been an exhilarating experience. I love the testimonies. Julie in New York writes, I love this product. I feel great. It worked immediately. You can feel the cleansing right away. Other products don't work right away like this one does. Mrs. Luella from Missouri writes, my daughter has lost 27 pounds. She loves the tea. And David from Tennessee writes, my wife has a lot of digestive problems and the tea really helps her a lot. I like it too. And here's my favorite from CJ in Minnesota. He writes, this stuff really works. No, I mean it really works. No, I mean it really works. Be one of the many testimonies that we receive every month. Order today online at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. You know the number, 928-308-0408. Be our next testimony. You love us, and we love you. And you handle the truth.
This is an emergency alert. People don't die of H1N1 infection. They die from system-wide intoxication and toxic shock. Doctors call it the cytokine following infection and immune hyperstimulation. Vaccines with immune stimulants or toxic drugs chemicalize your body, adding to your death risk. Prevent death and reverse diseases from infections, vaccinations, and drug toxicity. Call this to get my free special report about the flu and what to do to save lives, maybe even your own. I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. Order Zeolife, the world's most powerful broad-spectrum detoxifier, immune system guard, and vaccine cleanse. Avoid vaccinations and drugs. Use Zeolife and oxysilver hydrosol instead to detox and de-germ your body. Stop the shock of toxicity and preventable deaths. Call 1-888-KO-GERMS. That's 1-888-KO-GERMS. Or visit zeolife.net and oxysilver.net and order your free report and package special.
LBM, America's Most Wanted. Can you handle the truth? That's LBM, your number one choice in political talk radio.
All right, we're back. My guest is Anthony Hilder, old friend, and a most accomplished filmmaker. Anthony, I remember one of the first films that I ever saw that started waking me up, Lucifer 2000, with you and Jordan Maxwell, and I just had Jordan on my morning show at 8 in the morning Central.
Well, I'm looking toward getting a world that accepts the reality that we face. And the reality is that we will lose all people, all freedoms, all liberty, all sovereignty for all time if we do not win the war that is being waged against us. And this is the aerosol attack. This is the atmospheric poisoning of the entire planet.
Now let me ask you about that. Now I've been under these. I've seen these chemtrails. Have been reporting on them for years and years and years now. They've been doing it for a long time. Started with the Open Skies Treaty passed by Clinton. Is when after that we started really noticing them. But I've said to people, well, I've been sprayed with them 100 times, man, and I'm not sick. I'm not ill. So, maybe all they're doing is conditioning us.
You're not, because everybody breathes his air. Everybody's subject. There's no way to know where nowhere to turn. There's no way to hide. I'm not, I'm feeling tired, like I'm got like chronic fatigue.
Lots of people do.
The respiratory diseases, we're all affected by it, Clay. I mean, I know you're a big, strong guy, but we are all, I don't care how strong, how big, how tall, you can't hide from it. It gets into the air, it's toxicity, and we've got to win the war. Our site, aircraft.org, was founded because of the fact that people were not hitting the target. All of the chemtrail sites talked about the problem and no one was coming up with a solution. So we went from 500 or 235 hits the first day to over 25,000 within a week. So we simply have to put the tail on the death dumpers, the donkey, so to speak. And the death dumpers are coming up out of Arizona. In fact, there is a new piece, a brand new piece that just came across my desk and went out on our site. Pellegrini, Dr. Sandra Pellegrini, she has done an update on this. This is just 7 days ago through the Carnicom Institute. And they are listing the air particulates that are coming down, and they talk about allowable toxin level within the air. And you're talking about earlier just about the Shasta poisoning. This is a place that should be the most pristine place in the world. The air and the water and the snow on top of Mount Shasta should be pure, but it is not. And Arizona Skywatch came out with this piece here. They're talking about the manganese. The allowable amount would probably be, 10 is now 513.8, and it's not a typo. 513.8. Arsenic, 419. It should be like 1 or none. It's got barium, sulfur hexafluorides, aluminum at 15.8%. This is all toxins. Your children are not safe. They cannot go out and play in the yard because they're going to breathe this stuff. They should be wearing masks. You can't drink the water, you can't eat the food, and you can't breathe the air safely. So until there is a revelation, until you go into the city council and ask for no-fly zones like they have in Arizona, in one area, you're going to be facing a problem, and it's going to get larger and larger because their pedal is to the metal. They know that they have to kill these people before they wake up. And the people are waking up. Aircraft.org. I don't care if there's 12 of you listening to this show, because this is the first broadcast. Go to it, expand it. We're in the process of making a film. It's called Air Auschwitz. Air Auschwitz. And somebody said, oh my God, this is a terrible title. How can you possibly compare the people who died at Auschwitz with the people who are potentially going to die with this sprain? And, of course, the numbers have been exaggerated greatly, but even if there were a couple 100,000 who died in Auschwitz because of starvation, it really is a bad comparison, but it's the only one that I could use. We're in the process of making the film. And I would like, of course, the great Clay Douglas to guide us out to the airfield over there, the boneyard, once run by the Air America for the CIA, is now run by Evergreen. I'd like to see their facility from distance and film the planes coming in and going out, because these death dumpers are being brought from 100 different fields from throughout the world. Evergreen has 4,500 employees.
Sure.
They knowingly are doing this to the people. We ran across a lady who was telling us that the guys were in the bar drinking, as guys do, just bragging how much money they make, and they make a lot of money dropping these poisons upon us. But it isn't any different than aerosol gases that were used to kill people during World War I or Agent Orange. It's murder. It's murder in the nth degree.
Well, that's part of the plan, isn't it? I mean, isn't that written in stone of the Georgia Guidestones that they want to take out, reduce 90% of the people on Earth?
Yes, that is the game plan. We use that in our film. And I was working on it last night. If you go to aircraft.one, we've got Scare 1, which is the Santa Cruz Alert Response Emergency. And that's with Gary Richard Arnold, and I'm grilling him. I really am grilling him to come forth with the right answers, because people wonder, how can this possibly be? How could somebody do this to humanity?
How could our government do this to the American people? How could our own government do? Now, Anthony, it has to be the government. This ain't a private airfield out here. Evergreen's not a private airfield. It's a CIA type of base. It's heavily guarded. I understand, but I will investigate it. I mean, after all, I've been on the Illuminati, 9/11, and a few other of your films, so I'd like to be on this one. But if it wasn't the government, let me.
But not only you, but everyone else that's listening to the show in that general area needs to go out. We need pictures. We need data. We need people to talk to the pilots at the bars or wherever the hell they go. I'm sure that some of the guys that go to the whorehouses, they're going to come back and after experiencing their information, they're not going to only leave their semen. They're going to leave some information in the minds of some of the hookers, and maybe some hookers will come forth and tell us what these guys have been talking about or bragging about.
Yeah, go to my website, girls, and get my phone number. Anthony, if the government wasn't sponsoring this, then all they'd have to do is send up one jet, pull down one of these people as they're flying over our cities, flying over the air bases, and force them down and check them out.
What? It isn't our government, Clay. You know that. This isn't our government. You think, well, we're paying the taxes to pay for the nanoparticulates which poison the people, not only of this country but of here. But see, it's not our country. The currency that we use is not our currency. It's fiat, money. It's pieces of paper. If you go to Zimbabwe, and I used to, as you know, live in Africa for a period of time, and there was currency that was still valid when it was under Ian Smith, but now you have a $100 trillion. I don't know if it was $100 trillion or I think it was $100 trillion note. And I had it in my hand. I'm taking a look at this. It's for real. The note is worth about 4 rolls of toilet paper used. That's how bad the Zimbabwean dollar, it's like the Obama buck, the Amero that they're planning on bringing about. These people who are working with organizations like Evergreen, the contract killers. It's like Murder Incorporated. So write down, this may be the first show, and I know it comes in a little bit rough and a little bit ragged. That's how shows go. That's how shows go. Listening to a particular guy, in this particular case, Clay Douglas, and you say, well, hell, he's got the idea, the show isn't smoothed out quite yet. Give him a break. That's what it takes. I mean, he's spending his time, his money, and his efforts, and you can hear his frustration like you'll hear mine. that we have, and our bodies, our minds are telling us that we have to win this war. It's not optional. It's mandatory. So, I'd like you, just saying on behalf of the people who haven't thanked you yet, I'm going to thank you for joining us, because that's what you're going to do. I'm not doing this show for nothing. I'm doing this show for a reason. I'm doing it because I want you, each and every, and you over there, yeah, you too, get involved. It's to save not just this country, but to save the world from these madmen. These are Malthusian-minded men, like Jacques Cousteau, who said we have to kill 350,000 a day. And Bertrand Russell, another Fabian socialist, who said we have to create a Black Death every generation because war has hitherto been unsuccessful in reducing the population of the planet. These are people like the Rothschilds. And I was on the Rothschild estate. Go to our site, freeworldalliance.com. I was on their site filming an expose of their glass pyramid. It's like the glass pyramid outside the Louvre with the 666 panes of glass. You say, well, are these people actually Luciferian? Yes. Saul Alinsky, he was a Luciferian. He was a Luciferian. And I know sometimes you talk about, well, maybe it's the Jews. It's not the Jews. It's the Zionazis. The Zionazis. And these aren't the legitimate Jews of the Bible. These are the guys that killed Christ. These are those who call themselves Jews but are not. And it talks about that in the Bible. I talked about this subject with Mars, Reverend Mars.
Yes.
It's not the Jews, it's those who call themselves Jews but are not. These are Luciferians. They believe in their Lord Lucifer, and Saul Alinsky dedicates his book, Rules for Radical, to the Lord Lucifer. Obama is a follower of Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky was a follower of the Lord. Is there a connection? You're damn right there's a connection. They want to kill us. They want to control us. They want to take everything we've got. And it's really not that difficult to understand. The Jim Mars books, the Reverend Mars books, the stuff that you put out over the past few years, and the stuff, the films that you did with Carnicon. Maybe you were just one of the first kids on the block putting this stuff out. Now it's advanced, but it has to go further. It has to go to a position where they cannot win and we cannot lose. And that's going to be done by education, and education is going to come when you go out and go to the field that's north of you, Evergreen, and then the Boneyard, the old Air America yard, where some of these things are retrofitted and prepared to go up and poison the people.
I will go up and find the Evergreen facility and scope that out for you.
We need pictures. We need some film.
We got to take a break, and folks, if you want to call in, you can do that.
Change tea has been an exhilarating experience. I love the testimonies. Julie in New York writes, I love this product. I feel great. It worked immediately. You can feel the cleansing right away. Other products don't work right away like this one does. Mrs. Luella from Missouri writes, My daughter has lost 27 pounds. She loves the tea. And David from Tennessee writes, my wife has a lot of digestive problems and the tea really helps her a lot. I like it too. And here's my favorite from CJ in Minnesota. He writes, this stuff really works. No, I mean it really works. No, I mean it really works. Be one of the many testimonies that we receive every month. Order today online at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. You know the number.